Kindred Longevity Lifestyle Designers. This is AccurateSecretsOfLongevity.com, and I'm going to make some grass-fed hamburgers today. So, to get right off on the recipe, we start with half a pound of grass-fed ground beef, and you can use any amount of ground beef you want. Just if you're going to do a pound, if you have a larger family you're feeding or something, you just double up all the other ingredients I'm putting in here, of course. And you can actually get 2 free pounds of ground beef with any order over $74 plus free shipping if you check out the link below. It's Hearst Ranch, grass-fed beef, pasture-raised pork, turkey, I believe chicken, wild-caught Alaskan salmon, so a whole wide range of really healthy meats. And grass-fed beef is one of my favorite foods right now. So one of the next things I'm going to put in is some onion. So this is just one small onion. You can use half a larger onion, of course. And we're just going to chop it up. So then we just place that in the bowl. Green onion and or garlic works great as well. Depends on what you want for flavor and amount of intensity. There's quite a bit of onion for such a small amount of beef. You can use a little less if you don't want it quite so filled with onions. I like onions in hamburger though, so it's a good amount for me. And then just 1 egg, which helps bind it all together. Keeps it from falling apart, obviously, in the frying pan or on the grill. It's actually, if you were going to do this on the grill, you probably want a little bit more in terms of binding agent. Onions have gotten to my eyes a little bit. They're just starting to water here. Then we're going to put in some celery salt, which is a mixture of, I think there's some sea salt in there too. There's some celery seed, celery salt, and a variety of other herbs. I'm going to put some Lazy Man's ground pepper in here. Something I got for Christmas a while ago, and I've never had to grind pepper since. Then we're going to throw in a bit of kelp powder, which is something I like to put in as much food as I possibly can, just for the iodine, which is protective against radiation. That's just a little dash. Too much will cause it to break apart too easily, so we don't want to go too heavy on powders or anything that's going to dry it out. Then we're going to put in a little bit of barbecue sauce, which is organic, and it's a great way to sort of add the herbs and spices you want without actually adding the herbs and spices if you're a little bit lazy. That was a good amount. So then I like to just stick my hand right in it and mix it right up. And this is one meal for me. It makes about 4 regular-sized burgers. I guess they're 1/8 of a pound burger each. And so for some people that would be too much. That could be broken up into 2 meals, or you have one left over for a snack later on. Or perhaps you've got a massive appetite and you need a pound of beef for one person. So really, once that's all mixed up, all you have to do at this point is form it into patties and put it in the frying pan. So right now my favorite cooking oil is lard. That is left over from bacon that I use. And I'm putting just about that much on, just so that we don't have the hamburger sticking. Obviously the hamburger creates its own grease and oil as well. And you can also use grass-fed butter, ghee, coconut oil, although I don't really like coconut oil that much. But basically stay away from anything that's not high in saturated fat. So that's going to be basically all your seed oils. Olive oil, I don't recommend cooking this either. So we just basically take this big glob of ground beef. I like to divide it in half just so I get even sizes. And take half of one of the halves and form a little patty. I find this is a really quick meal. Some people obviously that are used to meals out of boxes or from fast food restaurants are going to think this is a little bit time intensive, but it really is not at all when you've got into the habit of making your own food for most of your life, as I have. Never been that drawn to the fast food lifestyle, to be honest. There's our second one. And a lot of people that would be doing obviously a more mainstream diet would put like breadcrumbs or something in this, and I don't think that's necessary at all. You generally have to add more liquid or egg or something in it to make up for the drying effect of the bread, and you know, we really don't need the carbs, really, especially from something that contains wheat. And our last one is probably going to be the biggest. Oh, it's going to have to stay like this until it's brown enough. So you could spend more time making them nicer looking, but really we don't have to be too specific with the size or the shape. You could have, if you had kids, you could do like fun shapes or like smaller ones, of course. So we're basically going to let these sit until they're browned enough and then flip them. I'll show you the flip. And we're also going to do something special at the end to make this reminiscent of probably something you used to have when you're younger and probably haven't had for a while if you've been eating a sort of a supposedly healthy diet, but you're opening up to the possibilities of meat again. We're going to flip these. I forgot to mention that the heat should be around medium. You don't want it too high, and I've actually kind of slightly overdone it on the one side, so I'm just going to basically leave these on this side, but on a little bit lower heat so that they can cook all the way through without getting quite so brown on the other side there. So that's cast iron pan with the towel and move it around. Last one quick. Personally, I don't like eating ground beef raw just because it's ground and there's more chances of it having been contaminated during the butchering process. And so I do cook some meat. I eat some meat raw, some somewhere in between. Sometimes I do like a steak bleu, which is like just seared on maybe one or both sides. And also in between, you can cover it if you want it to also cook well to the middle. Or be confident that it's going to cook to the middle, especially if you have it on a lower heat. So here we are, we're done turning the heat off. That took all about maybe 10 minutes tops of cooking, if that even. And we're going to turn 2 of these into cheeseburgers. And before the heat comes down, we're going to put the cheese on. This is raw cheese. Obviously it's not going to be raw after this, but it's better than pasteurized cheese because just melting the cheese isn't going to be as hot as it would if it was pasteurized, because pasteurization is an extremely high temperature. And we're just putting a few slices on here. It's a bit crumbly. And then when you put this back on and just let it sort of cool down, by the time it's ready to eat, it'll have melted, as you'll see. And then as you see, barely 5 minutes later, cheese has melted on top. I then like to use large romaine leaves instead of a bun. Kind of reminiscing back to the raw food days where I'd use like collard leaves or even romaine leaves for an almond burger or something like that. So these, I always, whenever I get a head of romaine, I keep the outside leaves for these types of things. I use the inner, smaller ones, which are thinner and not that conducive to making a hamburger with, for like a salad, for instance. So I'm just going to make these up first before I put the hamburgers on. I'm just going to slice some tomato. There's about 5 pieces. Actually, first I'm going to put the mayonnaise on. This is just the mayonnaise I made. It's exactly the same recipe as I've done in a previous video. You can find that at the link here, or if you click this link, actually you'll be taken away from watching this video and you'll have to restart it. So in the drop down menu you can find this link as well if you want to click it after the video to watch how to make great homemade mayonnaise without preservatives, of course. And or you can always come back to this spot to click this link. Put a little bit on each one. So I was just looking up the nutrition content of ground beef in general. I was aware of the nutrition content, but just looking up the exact calories in half a pound of beef, and it really depends and varies. But basically, you're looking at around, for ground beef that's 30% fat, for a pound of it, you're looking at around 1,500 calories. So it's quite a bit. And with grass-fed ground beef, it's going to be a little bit less because it's grass-fed, not as high in fat. It's a little leaner. And the calorie counter I was looking at gave me, for half a pound, we're looking at about 550 calories. So when you add the condiments and other things in this meal, it works out to be a fairly decent sized meal, getting close to 600 calories. Next I'm just going to throw the tomato on here. We'll slice another piece. Cut it in half. Position it as so. This is only going to be the 2 burgers. I'll make the other ones later for myself. Then I've got some portobello mushrooms I sauteed earlier this week, a night or 2 ago. Just going to throw a few of those on. They're delicious. And we're going to throw the burgers on next. So we've got one with cheese, one without. Position it as so. Then to top all of this off, I'm going to put some sauerkraut on this. I buy this, so you can make it yourself. I haven't gotten into the habit of making it yet, but this is really cheap for me, so it's $4 for a big container of it. And it's good to get the probiotics in there, especially with a big meal like this. Definitely a part of, I think, should be a part of everyone's diet, no matter what dietary paradigm you subscribe to. So there you have it. It was pretty easy. That took me like maybe 20 minutes total, which is pretty quick for lunch for me, or even dinner, as this one is. And then I just like to fold it over like that. Let's try the cheese one. Let you guys know how it turned out. It's really good to get a full range of flavors in there. We can get with the sauerkraut, the tomato, got the acid, the sour, the meat, which is a bit salty and a little bit sweet from the barbecue sauce. Cheese has its own flavor going too. It's a delicious meal. So with that, definitely check out the links below. You can get amazing prices for grass-fed meat and beef delivered right to your door, and of course 2 free pounds if you're ordering over $74. And yeah, with that I'm going to say take care and embrace life without limits.